Hey guys, welcome back to Mondays at the Museum. I'm Carrie and I'm here at the Anna Bemis Palmer Museum in York, Nebraska. For today's episode, we're going to be talking about our Women in the Military section of our America at War exhibit that is going to be here and shown until February 29th of 2024. So I'm going to give you a quick once-over of the section itself. And then we're going to delve into each item, starting with these from World War I. Now, we have talked about these uniforms in a past video when we talked about the Red Cross. So these were both worn by Jean Holdeman during her time in the Red Cross in World War I. On the right, this is what she wore in Paris in 1918. And on the left, she wore in an Armenian refugee camp in Beirut in 1919. Jean was married to George Holdeman, who was a captain in the Spanish-American War. He also went on to serve in World War I. Jean passed away in 1966, and she is buried in Greenwood Cemetery here in York. These items were donated by the Holdeman estate, and they are just so cool. They've got the buttons, the patches still intact. There's buttons up here, and we have the hat for this one, which I was told is pretty rare and unique. Moving on to World War II, there was a lot more roles that women could play in World War II than they could in World War I. An example of that is working in an ordnance plant. So these are pictures from women who worked in ordnance plants outside of Omaha, Nebraska, and also in Ord, Nebraska. So here you see she is literally holding two boosters that are part of an explosive. Staying clean was always a priority there. You can see this one as she's entering, she's checking, because you can't walk in with anything that is any sort of spark or flammable or anything like that, obviously, because that would be really bad. There they are, hard at work, and of course cleaning up, more work, and obviously safety equipment abounds in a place like that. But my favorite out of all these pictures is actually this one here. So what they would do is, you're obviously covered in TNT when you work at a place like that. So what they would do is they would put red dye into the hand washing material, and it would react when it met with any TNT presence, and so you knew your hands were clean when all the red was washed away. Now, what's really interesting about these pictures is they are taken here in Nebraska, but they were so popular that they actually made it all the way to a newspaper in Akron, Ohio. And here is a magazine article, Roto Magazine, in the Akron Beacon Journal, that was printed Sunday, April 16th, 1944. So they made it all the way over there to Akron, Ohio. Also on this wall, we have some posters. You are needed now. Join the Army Nurse Corps. The sky's the limit. Keep buying war bonds. You'd see those about anywhere that you would spend money. And fighting men need nurses. Signed up at the Red Cross recruiting station. Moving on now to our uniform section. So here on the left, we have a Women's Army Corps uniform. The WAC is the abbreviation, WAC for that. There is also hats up top. The green and the brown go with it. This one was actually worn by Bernadine Burnham Johnston. She wore it during her service in Washington State. After the war, she moved to Colorado. She worked for the Coors Porcelain Company before retiring in 1987. Bernadine passed away in 2010. She's buried in Crown Hill Cemetery in Wheat Ridge, Colorado. So this is really neat. It comes with the bag, obviously. You've got your patches intact here. This uniform is Navy Health Services. It was worn by Frances Wiswell. It comes with the blue cap right here up above. Frances passed away in 1981, and she is buried in Greenwood Cemetery here in York, Nebraska. As you can see, patches here. Moving on to our Marine Corps corporal uniform. This was actually worn by Hazel Nichols. She served at Camp Pendleton, and she served from 1944 to 1946. She was a projectionist in one of the 6 theaters at the camp. After the war, she worked for Fair Acres Dairy in Grand Island. Then she moved to York, where she kept books from our J.M. McDonald store. Hazel passed away in 1999 and is buried at Greenwood Cemetery in York, Nebraska. This one is really cool. Got the patches and the buttons still intact, and of course the hat with the ribbon. And then finally we have our Gray Ladies uniform. So the difference between this World War II Gray Ladies uniform for Red Cross and these World War I ones is these ones you're literally sewing on limbs there in that Red Cross version, versus the Gray Ladies were more about your mental health. they would do things like help you write letters to your family, take you for walks, arts and crafts, stuff like that. Just focusing on the mental aspect of the war, as we know that can be tough for somebody coming out of war and shell shock and things like that. So this one's really cool. It comes with the hat. She's got the patches and everything. And of course the skirt. And they call them the Gray Ladies because it is literally gray. And this was worn by Frances Stover at the Fairmont Air Base during her time in the Red Cross. Frances passed away in 1959. She's buried at Wyuka Cemetery in Lincoln, Nebraska. So that was the quick highlights version of our Women in the Military section of our America at War exhibit. We do have a program coming up on January 27th from 2 to 3 p.m. here at the museum, 520 North Grant Avenue here in York. It is on the history of World War II prisoner of war camps that were here in Nebraska, and it covers kind of a forgotten part of Nebraska history and housing German captured prisoners of war during that time. Guest speaker Micah Hauser, he works at the Nebraska Prairie Museum. He's going to come and bring a few artifacts pertaining to this and give a speech. Make sure, if you want to see the exhibit, to do so before February 29th, 2024, as that will be the last day before our new rotation starts. As always, if you have any comments or questions, reach out to us via the website, palmermuseum.com. We hope to see you soon.